thank you for the big round of applause, everyone. So we talked already today. It's later into the day, and I think you heard and learned a lot about AI, right? We just heard iOS scan as a big challenge. So I'm happy now to talk about anything that has actually a very, very big impact to all of us when we talk about modern growth stack and how we are going to tackle this, because Android is changing, right? The whole mobile marketing system that we have there is going to be technically changed, and we have been very close with Google to work on it, and I will share right now a little bit where the industry are, what is working, how it will work, and also obviously I think you are aware of all the news, what's happening on Chrome Sandbox with delays, cookie deprecation, and now not deprecation. I will talk a little bit more what it means for us in the Android landscape, and so now you might think, why is Remerge talking about, why am I standing here? So we are in the whole app marketing business since 10 years. We are since 7 years here in Seoul with an office, and we have been focusing very much on app retargeting, app re-engagement. So the way that we target and can scale in the ecosystem is actually pretty crucial for all of us, right? So for us, it's actually very important that the whole transition of where we are right now, how marketing works, that it's profitable for the advertisers, that they can scale them in a performance way is very important. And I think everybody of us know how it happened on iOS when Apple just moved forward with a new approach with ATT, and how it can affect everybody, right? To think exactly about how to adjust their marketing stack and what works and what not, and what other techniques need to be built. We are right now 170 people overall, so we have a team that is really focused to do that transition as good as we can, and I give you now the current status on that actually. So maybe most of you know already how Sandbox is built, or what's the key difference of it. So privacy-wise, the biggest difference is actually that the data on Android will stay on the device. So the idea is that no data is going out of the device, and it's designed that data is actually collected and aggregated, and then is being targeting and reporting and everything is updated in that way. So how Google now in the Sandbox environment has implemented it is that you actually have a lot of different APIs. So you see there, you have topics APIs with more background of a specific user audience. You have protected audience APIs, which is how you can still do retargeting, but on an audience level. You have protected app signals, which is for user acquisition, where you now save in the future the information of a person on the device that can be accessed. You have also an updated attribution reporting, so who converts when and how is also being updated. And last but not least, you have the SDK runtime, and this is everybody who has an SDK. That's going to change because you won't have access to the device also. So everybody who has an SDK, it will be cut off. So that's just APIs you can discuss and talk on the device, but you don't have all the information of a specific device, how you have the SDK. It has all pros and cons. On the SDK side, because it's separate, it's being updated in real time every time. So that's a good thing. So people don't need to update an app until they have a new SDK. So it's not connected so much anymore, and has more data. But on the other hand, obviously, you don't have as much control of what is happening on the device. On the other APIs, I will mainly talk about the protected audience and the attribution reporting, but the functionality of topics API and protected app signals is similar. And Google nowadays has everything very well documented on the Sandbox side. So if you want to dig deeper and understand technically and high level how it works, you can also look at that. But I will also share and talk about how it works technically and where we are right at. So I think like the most important and relevant thing is always like timeline and where are we and what is happening. Yeah. So everybody talks on Chrome. So the Google team has announced that there will be now no cookie deprecation, right? Has been big news last Monday. So we talked also with Google 4 times already since then to just like have an understanding, okay, what does it actually mean for Android? So a consent framework is going to be implemented on Chrome, which means it could be a little bit like ATT, where there is a pop-up asking like, is it okay for you to share data via third-party cookies and so on? Yes or no. If it's no, you have no access to an ID, right? So you only will have access on the Sandbox APIs as an alternative. So Android and the Android Sandbox team never have communicated like any ID deprecation, and they have always been like very clear about that. They don't want to go into the same situation like the Chrome team has been, where they said, well, in 2 years, Chrome's third-party cookies are deprecated, and then now it's like, it's being delayed, and it's coming later, and now again, like, oh, well, they will remain forever. So the Android team always said, like, well, we don't want to go into that. We just work on the APIs, and then let's see. Yeah, but I think like everybody knows if the Sandbox API or anything else will happen, and also to put pressure into the industry, there will be a solution where things are being like deprecated sooner or later. And also for the consent, what Google is now implementing in Chrome, that has always been an option also on Android. And it's also very likely from our perspective that it's going to happen on Android too. So because it makes easier for Google to roll out, because what they say is the user decides. Yeah, the user decides if they want to show like prominently, if they want to share the ID with the app marketer, yes or no, right? So do they want to have it or not? So then it's like it's not Google to do like the rollout and decision that the ID goes away, but it's the user. So it's a bit similar to how Apple has done it on ATT, saying like, hey, we are very protective about your privacy, so you decide, right? But obviously the language is so crazy and against the marketers that you only have now an opt-in rate of about 20%, maybe to 50%, that where you have the ID, and that diminished like the scale and the addressability of the whole industry quite a lot. So, and obviously we hope that with the alternative way of Sandbox, that you still have a very good and scalable and well-performing targeting framework that still works without an ID, right? So the API is what I shared before. The good thing is actually that Google will now roll it out in the next Android versions by end of this year. So right now we have mainly like Sandbox technology tests, what we can do in order to test like with other partners, but it's not like in the live Android environment where you have like a lot of users there. But at the end of this year, they will roll it out. So now with the next Android version, everybody can actually test in the live environment also Android APIs in parallel of all the other mechanisms what we have right now with the Android system. And that's, I think, like the most important development. So we expect also that starting next year, we can have better, more scalable tests and real-life tests also to feel how it works on the device with latency and everything beginning of next year. Right now, still, there are not so many companies in the industry that are already like have the capabilities there, and I will share later about okay, what do we have and what not. So when we look at where we are like experts in, where we have always been, is the retargeting case. So for us, where we have developed also most of the time is the way how audiences are being managed on Sandbox, the custom audience management. Then also how an auction is being done on the device, yeah, because that's also being done on the device. You're not having server to server now doing all the bids, but it's happening on the device. So the on-device bidding, how it works, and also the new measurement of attribution, yeah, and the reporting about it. So we have been already invested since over 1.5 years, where we have one separate R&D team that only focuses on Sandbox. Yeah? So we work like closely. We have every 2 weeks we have calls with Google to just like say this is working, that's not working, this is not, and also sharing like the cases. So for them also to learn how is the retargeting and remarketing case right now. So that's also being addressed and implemented on Android. We work with like we try to bring everybody onto the table. Yeah, so we are working with all the MMPs out there, Airbridge, of course, for example, right? We work with all the SSP out there, all the publishers to have that address, and so that the whole flow and the whole interfaces that we have right now work also in the future. And it's actually not so easy, because obviously we can only control ourselves and our roadmap and our investments, and other companies, they might not want or don't have the capabilities or priorities to invest into Sandbox right now to get like the things. But one is also like very important, and that's why it was for us so important to start working already 1.5 years ago, because end of this year, when the APIs are being rolled out, you can't change them so much anymore. Yeah, so like the most important stuff, things are then already in the live environment. Yeah, and the good thing is like for our case, for the retargeting case and the way how things are being done, most of the things are already being addressed so that it works. Yeah, so that Google is not missing something that is maybe not working in the future. So, but that we have that covered, and I think that's good. So I myself, and usually like that's also interesting and funny, because like usually I'm talking with Google together in conferences like this. So we always like and Google talks about what I said before, like timeline and the situation and what it means and why we do that all, right? And I talk more on the technical thing, where are we with the industry and so on. So Google couldn't make it here with us today. Not sure if it's related about the announcement on Monday, but I don't think so. But yeah, we try to get like everybody together and talk and educate and just like keep updated where we are, and also just like to get feedback from you if something is missing, if you have questions, so that we can talk directly also with Google, so that this is addressed and that we have it. Because I said, like once the APIs are going out, it's even not as easy to change them as on the core, but obviously still on the interfaces and methodologies we can think about those things. So the first thing I would say when talking about it, and I think this is the one where we are like the most advanced, is actually how the attribution and setup works right now in order to set up like custom audiences. So like how the flow right now works is that we use MMP data to just like define who we want to retarget, when we want to retarget, so define like the strategy with our customers. And right now we actually, I think it works with all MMPs out there, that we can do the custom audience approach on Sandbox. So it works like pretty smooth. We have a case where we have it just like tested it in a technical environment, so we can set up the custom audiences. So, but still, like I think important to understand retargeting, re-engagement case. Right now, obviously, we have a set of users we want to retarget specifically, and we use for the ID. Yeah, we do the matching of one ID that we want to retarget. I find the ID, and then I bid on it, and then do the connection. In the future, we can define rules. Yeah, everybody who is inactive since 7 days and is and has done a purchase in the past. So we define like segments and rule-based systems based on events, and then we can find those when we are bidding. Yeah, so we can find those segments out there, because the segment, what I just said, 7 days inactive and has done a purchase, has the ID ABC, and I can find them in the whole environment. Is ABC there? And they say yes, somebody of that user is there, and then we can bid against that audience, and that works. And then I don't know exactly who it is, but I know it's actually somebody I want to retarget, and I know my goals and everything. So that's going to work, and that's like technically it works already pretty well with almost all attribution providers. Now the auction part, the bidding part. So the SSPs, unfortunately, are actually the slowest one to adopt on the Sandbox right now. Yeah, so we have test cases with some of the bigger ones, but and specifically Verve Group has done, I think, the first Hello World approach, where we've done really the whole bidding process. We put somebody in an audience, exactly like I said. We targeted the audience. We won a bid. We showed an ad. Everything is working. Like technically, the whole flow is working in a live environment. So that's also working. But right now, like a lot of the big SSPs, they're still a little bit behind. They are waiting, yeah, right now, like we are doing it more with the ones who are more committed into Android in the future. But as also, like I know, I'm talking with all the SSPs and most of the C-level people there, that they have it at least also on their roadmap. Because I said, like once the APIs are being rolled out at the end of the year, they have to take it. They can't just like do anything around it. So then they are going to adopt, and obviously then you can also start testing in parallel. How does it work with Sandbox? How does it work with the current environment? And then also to try to get like as good as possible to match it, and to have that addressability. I think like one also important point on the Sandbox is that you will have 100% reach. You can target everybody, right? I think like that's a big benefit to have such an infrastructure, because people cannot opt out of it, right? Because it's like privacy friendly. So you don't need the opt out of that. You can only opt out of an ID, but the Sandbox, that's like the good thing. Even right now, I think you can, and some users have switched off like sharing the ID, but it's like really hidden in the settings. So but still today, I think that maybe 20% have it switched off, which you can't address right now on Android. And that one, if the concept is coming, then it will grow to ATT level, worst case. So the option and the ability to use Sandbox and be prepared for that is like very important in order to just like have that modern growth stack, how it's named here. Yeah, so in the future it's like needed. So the last point is the attribution reporting. So right now you can like dig into like very granular reporting. How does it work on creative in that region, on that campaign, and then like really do that. So in the future it will be a little bit more like the reporting under Scan, right, on iOS. So it will be more aggregated, and you will have like different levels of report. So if you want to look like more creative reporting, for example, you can actually go on a very detailed level. But if you want to like understand other like conversion metrics, you have to aggregate on a higher level. Yeah, so they try to balance it out for everyone, so that to not understand on a specific user level who is it, right? So to re-engineer the system. And I think like that's a similar approach to how Scan has been doing it, but it will still be much more flexible. Also, each company who will be part of the Sandbox initiative will get like some credits to be able to, like privacy credits, to be able to just like request more detailed and granular report, yeah? And the bigger you are, the more invested you are, the more privacy credit you get, so you can dig deeper and have a better understanding of that, and can help like also your performance campaign. If you're not part of the Sandbox, you might only get like high-level report and can't understand like so much. So it's like a very tricky system. We have to see how that evolves. There are a lot of questions around it, but this one is also working as set to get it, but it's like a lot of discussion still of what will be in the final version of the Sandbox. So as a next step, I think like, as I said, it's always helpful to understand what's the latest statuses. I think it's also helpful to just like follow the discussion either on the technical side, but also like with your partner. Where are you? What is happening? And specifically now, because in the past it was kind of like, okay, you can't do really much because you can't actively work on it. You can't actively test it because it's just like technically just being set up. But as I said, like I think starting from next year, like 2025, it will be interesting to just like think about and talk more about with your vendors to actually do some tests, to or at least like learn from case studies where they are in order to do so, right? Because like even with the announcement like, oh yeah, cookies will stay, there will be a consent framework, IDs might stay, there will be a consent framework, like Google is very invested into Sandbox and to support it, to make it there. We are invested into it because we want to have like an alternative targeting mechanism if the ID is going away. So for us, we just like keep continuing. We try to work and bring everybody to the table because the Sandbox is a little bit different from ATT environment that the whole industry actually can shape it. Yeah, Google gives like a little bit, they support in the technicalities and they give the high level privacy needs, but they also balance between privacy, like how heavy is it going to privacy, versus utility, how good is the campaign still performing. And Google obviously being an ad tech player themselves, they are interested that the campaigns are still performing really well. And there, it actually closes very well also the connection what we have discussed earlier with AI, with the technologies that are available, because the good thing is that nowadays we can use and leverage much more technology, so even with less signals to address and target more users there and make performance campaigns, right? So in the past, this was maybe everything a little bit more manual and you needed like more data, but now you just like can do much better predictions and optimize towards that, and the whole technology is more accessible, more experiences being done, so I think like that's very good and very important and timing-wise. So here are like some also more information and details. You can just like scan the different QR codes. The Activate podcast, we have like a lot of talk on privacy and specifically also with Google senior leadership team about how the Sandbox is being done. We have like a lot of papers and articles about it, and also like with Airbridge together a white paper that also helps on this whole topic and where the future and actually the modern growth stack is developing. So feel free to check this one out. And last but not least, I think we are here in the conference with a bigger team. Maybe some of you have seen them walking around or have talked to them. They're based here in Seoul. You can also follow up. If you need more information, if you like anything about Sandbox, anything about retargeting, obviously they're here. They can speak Korean also, right? Not like myself, unfortunately. But like if you want to dig deeper, if you want to get more information, resources, they're happy to help. And I think that's it from my end. So thank you.